What's going on? What do you guys think of this? The audio version. Oh, right. Inside joke. Let me bring it outside real quick. Doug Mayo and I don't know. He's been teasing me this entire conference. I don't get it. I don't know if I've got a kick me sign on my back or what, but anyway, he got a book today, and I told him, you probably ought to have your wife read this to you because it's a really good book. Audio version coming out real soon, buddy. You hang in there. All right, so hey, Mitsubishi bought a bunch of these books for you. So if you didn't get one, there's about 2.5 boxes left. So after this, if you do not have one, go get one. It's a good read, Doug. All right, so where's my clicker? Clickety click, clickety click. Oh, there it is. Good. Okay, so he told me back there. He said, "Hey, if you touch the clicker, we're going to switch it from you." See? It worked. It's pretty good. What I'm going to do today is ambitious. It's ambitious because, in fact, I've got the word up here. See that? Ambition. I think it's spelled right, too. Pretty impressive, right, Doug? Yeah, I thought so. But it's ambitious because if I do it right, you're going to have not one, but 2 aha moments. How does that sound? Does that sound all right? If I do this right, you will walk out these doors knowing how to save $50,000. I'm going to give you a visual. 50 grand. Is that enough or no? No, not enough? You want more than that? Okay, do me a favor. Just put your phones in the air for a minute. Come on, guys. I know you got them. Put your phones in the air. Some of you are lighting them up. That's really sweet. Back and forth. That's super awesome. Okay, I appreciate that. I'll take that off my bucket list. No. Do me a favor. Can I rent them for 50 grand, 1 hour? Okay. Do me a favor. Turn them off, and I will show you how to save $50,000 by the time you walk out that door. That's how ambitious this is. I will save you 50 grand, I promise you. Turn it off. Trust me. Turn it off. All right? That's number one. On the back end, if I accomplish... What is so funny? Wow. It's got to be the governor. It's got to be. I didn't even hear the phone. Thank you for that. 2018, you'll have the best year you've ever had. If I do it right. I need you to be engaged. Will you be engaged with me for 1 hour? Yes or no? I'm not sure I'm convinced. I need you for 1 hour of your life to change it. Can I have that hour? Good. Recently heard a story about an older gentleman. He was in a post office. He was in line to get stamps. You could tell he was struggling there in that line. And there was a lady that noticed there at the post office. She wanted to help him. So she walked up to me and she said, "You know what? There's these amazing little machines right over there. You can get your stamps there. That way you don't have to wait in this line." And the old man looked at her and said, "I'm really grateful. I appreciate it. But I'd rather wait in the line." Now, she couldn't figure this out. It didn't make any sense to her. She could tell that he was struggling. So she persisted. "Come on. Come to the machine. I'll show you how to do it. It's easy. It's a piece of cake." And finally, the old man looked at her in the eye and said, "The machine won't ask me about my arthritis." And he stayed in the line. Now, how does that make sense to anyone in this room? Well, that's just it. It doesn't make sense. It's emotional. It's not logical. And this is what it's all about. Why is it about the customer experience? Well, people are choosing it over brand. Now, I know the table over here does not appreciate this conversation, but I bet you they agree. They buy experience over brand. How do we know that? Well, if you take a close look here at Southwest and how they beat the competition and not you, I promise you that was really funny 2 months ago. Yeah. In the back of your head, you got to ask yourself, what is it about Southwest? What makes them so great? What do you guys think? By the way, this isn't a TV show. They care. Love that. Their employees get to wear what they want. Absolutely. I've seen it. You're right. What else? They're consistent. They're funny. Cracking jokes. I love that. Yes. They're real. All of that. All that. Absolutely. They appeal to your emotion. Absolutely. Let me take it a step further. You may not have heard that a month ago, the same thing happened on Southwest. You didn't hear about it. In the back of your head, you're wondering, why didn't I hear about it? Well, I'll tell you why you didn't hear about it. Because when you go to United, in fact, I'll give you one example. I was at United. I had this box of flyers. And I wanted to take this box of flyers to an event that I was doing. Drop it off at the front counter. And the lady, she's putting stuff on the belt. Right? She looks back at the box. She says, hey, you're going to need tape that. She goes back to what she was doing. Of course, I'm checking my pockets for tape. She finds out, okay, she goes over to the front counter. She grabs some tape. She puts it on my box. She goes back to what she was doing. So I'm all right, I can do this. I've packed before. And I start taping the box. I go from one side to the other. And she looks back and she sees me about to put my teeth on the tape. I don't have anything else. You know what? At Home Depot, they have this little cutter. You know, the cutter thing? None of that. It's just tape. So she goes over, she grabs a pen and she goes, doink. And then she puts the pen on the box for me to use next time. I thought that was really nice of her. And so I grab the tape and I tape and I'm all done. And she said, okay, it's $75. And she puts that on the belt. And I don't know any different. Hey, it's good, right? All good to go. On my way back, I still have a bunch of flyers and I don't want to waste them, so I want to bring them home. And I'm flying home on Southwest, and I put that on the front counter. And the lady at Southwest, front counter, grabs tape, grabs the box, tapes it up for me. Good to go, no charge. You see, I recognized the difference. And there they are putting emotional deposit into my bank account after emotional deposit. So when bad things happen and they have a video where somebody gets kicked off of a Southwest flight, nobody hears about it. Do you know why? Because their customers like them. And when that thing happened to United and everybody heard about it, do you know why? Because they hated them already. It's emotion. Connection. When people like you, they're more patient with you. Because guess what? At some point, you're going to screw up. But if you put those emotional deposits into that bank account over and over and over again, when you do mess up, guess what? Doesn't matter. Why? Because they like you. Customer experience trumps brand. Every time. What about price? What about price? What's so great about Chick-fil-A? Customer service, right? Handshake of the host affects the taste of the roast. Right? How is that possible? Is the chicken sandwich really that good? It is so good. I mean, when they open up, there's this huge line. They're willing to wait for the sandwich. And when they charge the extra what, $1.70 as opposed to McDonald's, or when you compare it to McDonald's, oh my gosh, wow. They demand the price they charge. They demand it. They demand it. Does your customer experience demand the price you charge? Experience. It is all about the experience. What about Buc-ee's? What's so great about Buc-ee's? Who's been to a Buc-ee's? I've got one guy who says he's never heard of them. Raise your hands if you've been to a Buc-ee's. How many pumps do they have at a Buc-ee's? 1,000 pumps. Can you imagine? 1,000 pumps. That's just ridiculous. Let me tell you about Buc-ee's, okay? Say you're out and about traveling, and you're going on a little trip, road trip. And you go to your average gas station, and the bathroom's filthy, and you might have a couple of bags of beef jerky, and you might have some peanuts here and there. What happens when you go to a Buc-ee's? Shout it out. Anything you want. What do you mean, anything? What's anything? How about a samurai sword? It's there. What's a surfboard? One stop. In the back here, you're going, why would I go here? Because it's an experience. It's amazing. You go in, and they've got this beef jerky. And it's not bags of beef jerky. They have slabs of beef jerky, and it's buffalo jerky and elk jerky and every kind of jerky you could think of. And it's not in bags because they're giving out free samples in the back. It's amazing. Peanuts, you want cinnamon peanuts, you want salted peanuts, you want they've got 20 different assortments of peanuts, and guess what? Of almonds and pecans and pistachios and everything else you can possibly think of. And when you go to their bathrooms, how are their bathrooms? Amazing. I mean, they've got sanitizers in between every stall. It's ridiculous. And they've got mouthwash at a gas station. Yeah. And those 1,000 pumps, how often are they full? Always. Always. What's that?
And they have receipt tape in all the pumps.
Oh, they don't run out of that? It is about the experience. It is about the experience that you create for your customer over and over and over again. That's what it's all about. So that's what we need. And then we got some juggernauts. Let's call them Goliaths that are out there. And they're looking over the backyard of our business. And they are licking their chops. You know it's true. Because how many people have iWatches? Go ahead. Come on, raise your hands. iWatches, I've got one too. Okay, I run a lot, trail running, okay? Guess what? You can control that on your watch. Look at that intuitive thermostat right there. You got Apple doing some stuff. You got Google jumping in with a bladeless air conditioner. And it's see-through. Right? They want a piece of it. They see the opportunity. And they're coming. And soon you won't have to worry about your local competitors. Because these guys are coming. And then you've got Amazon. Apparently, they have the best consumer rating on the planet. How do you do that without a customer interface? How do you do that? Well, it's very simple. What they do is they create no experience. They just opened up a store in New York. You walk in, and if you've got the right app, you take off a product from the shelf, and it automatically charges it, keeps track. You walk out the store, it automatically charges your bank account or your credit card. No experience. None. And they call that great customer experience. Why? What's that? Convenience? What's that? Online, sure. No labor, right? No line, no wait. Good stuff. All good stuff. Excellent. But that's exactly what it is. They create consistency and low price and no experience. So what's the point? Well, the point is guess what, you guys? You will not beat Amazon with the lowest price. You won't beat them. You've got to play a new game. You have no choice now but to be awesome. You have to be awesome. And you can do it. Because they're doing it at Chick-fil-A, and they're doing it at Buc-ee's, and they're doing it at Southwest. And these are guys, if you read about their history, they're like you and me. They're like you and me. They want to take care of their families, and if possible, they want to make a difference. And they did it. And we have no choice but to do it as well. So, customer experience. It is what we want, yes? Absolutely. I got a couple of yeses in the room. Is this what we want? Yes. Absolutely yes. How do we do it? That should be the question you're asking next, right? Who impacts your customer's experience? Who? I would say it's your people. Do you agree or disagree? Absolutely yes. So your people, what do they need? People skills. You know, I did put it on the wall for a reason. Right? They need people skills, and they need it right now. All right? So they need training. Lots and lots of training. Here's what's interesting about training today, especially in our industry, is you go to a training, even if you're engaged, even if you're completely involved in the entire process, and it's 3 days long, and it's amazing, it's awesome, it's a life changer, you go back to your office and you do what? Almost none of it. In fact, you only retain 10% of it on average, statistically. In fact, when we go to events, we say to ourselves, man, if I can take back 2 or 3 things, it's a good event. Really? Why are you guys comfortable with the crumbs? Why are we okay with that? We can't be okay with that anymore. We want this. Do we not? Look at that. Do you want this? Yes or no? Absolutely yes. There's lots of ways to do that. In order to show you how to do that, I got to go back. 2015, we were doing great. Company was fantastic. We were doing in-person training, webinars. We were monitoring the CSR's calls. We were making a difference. It was fantastic. We coached them twice a month. We coached the CSRs twice a month. It was good. It was really fantastic. It was wonderful. And then we hit a wall. We hit this wall, and I didn't know how to overcome it. We were about 250, 300 CSRs that we were training on a regular basis. I couldn't get past it. I couldn't get above it for years. And so what I decided to do was hire this guy. Look at him. His name is Johnny Covey. Familiar with the name? Johnny Covey? Yeah, Stephen R. Covey's nephew. All right, he's there in Salt Lake City, Utah, and he teaches this Think, Feel, Do process. And I paid him $4,000 a month to come in and work with me because I hit this plateau. You guys ever hit a plateau? Yes or no? Never? Okay, good. Yeah, it never happened. Okay, so this is what I did. This guy, really cool. Think, Feel, Do process. I'll talk about it in a moment. But he knows his stuff. He knows what he's doing. And we had a love-hate relationship. I loved him, and I wanted to kick him out almost every time we talked, every time we worked together. First time we met, he said, I want to work with you in your home. Now, when he first said that, I don't know why I didn't like this idea. I was kind of uncomfortable with it. I'm not sure why. So reluctantly, I said, sure. Why do you think he wanted to work in my home? Wanted to see my habits. What else? Get in your head. What else? Something about the war. I don't know. What? Lifestyle. Okay, good. He gets me in my house. Tells me to turn off my phone, not just for an hour, by the way, but all day. Every Monday from 8 to 5, I turned off my phone for an entire year. And he said it very simply. You keep you from succeeding. You keep you from succeeding, Brigham. You got to get out of your business and you got to work on it. And how many times have you guys heard that? Every freaking conference. Listen to Kyle up front. I hear it every conference, every time. And all of us are doing it, right? Whatever. Nobody does it. He sits me down, he has me turn off my phone, and he says, all right, man, tell me what you want to accomplish. Now, I'm paying this guy $4,000 a month. You better tell me what I want to accomplish. So I tell him, hey, I want to help the industry. I want to change it. I want to help people see that it's about the customer's experience, and I can't work with any more than 250 to 300 CSRs. I can't figure it out. He says, all right, what do you need? And how are you going to do it? So he's asking me these cow questions, right? How are you going to do that? And still I'm going, man, I really wish this guy would actually pitch in and help me with this as I'm answering my own questions. How are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to communicate with my people, and I'm going to hold them accountable. And sound familiar? Yeah, I'm going to do all these things. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. And talk, chatter. And it's all bull until we had tangible processes and plans. So about 70 hows later, right, I could probably solve world hunger. It was something like that. I've got these big old stickies all over my house. My kids would come home at 3 o'clock after school and they'd be like, Dad, what are you doing in here with all these papers? You know, they thought it was like Beautiful Mind in there. And I'm like, no, this is really, we got a plan. You know, it's going to be great. And next thing I know, I start implementing things. Last year, he convinced me to pull my 2 best coaches. Everybody raves about these coaches. Pull them out of coaching and start coaching all the other coaches. And they do it every week. It was the best thing I ever did. It was awesome. So now I don't just have 2 awesome coaches. Guess how many awesome coaches I have now? Well, 13. This think, feel, do process, when we're coaching, the goal is not for us to teach you. We want you to teach us. We want to find out what you know, what you believe. I'm telling you, that governor, he just doesn't give up, does he? What do you know? What do you believe? And then we take what you know and what you believe about the concept we're teaching, and then we invite you to do it. So the same thing that my coach was doing with me, the one I paid $4,000 a month for, we do with every one of our CSRs. 3 levels of certification and a library of recorded calls that demonstrate best practices. So not only do they hear their own calls, but they hear the best CSRs in the industry. And we've got CSRs from ARS that have received awards for being the best CSR in ARS. And we've got CSRs that have received awards for being the best CSRs at AirServe, and so on and so forth. And they're booking 85% of their calls, and so on and so forth. And it all comes from these processes and procedures here. Same thing in 2017. We added a 4th level of certification, 2-minute videos, so that they can see exactly what we teach and how we teach it, and they can go over it over and over again. And we implemented a guarantee, which was interesting because my coach said, you need a guarantee. Oh my gosh, no training company offers a guarantee because you can't count on the guys to actually implement what you teach. And he said, listen, but that's the difference. You go in and you do it for them. You're not telling them to do one more thing. You go in and you do it for them. You hold their CSRs accountable and you do it for them. Have you ever had to give your money back? Well, no, I've never had to do that. So what are you afraid of? And I said, I guess you're right. And guess what? We still have never had that issue, ever. Today, we have almost 600 CSRs in the program. Am I sharing this to brag? Not at all. You're missing the message. Don't miss the message. I was talking to Capuccio today. He hired a coach, a business coach, had no experience in our industry, and he hired him for over 10 years, and he paid him $3,000 a month for 10 years. I asked his permission to share this. And he did the same thing with him that my coach did with me. every Wednesday from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 o'clock at night, all they did was work on their goals, their processes, their procedures. What he did was he made Cappuccio create. My coach made me create. How do you save 50 grand? What's 4,000 times 12? 48,000. Guys, you want to save yourself 50 grand? You figure out a way to ask yourself how over and over and over again on a regular basis. And you begin to answer that question. You gonna do it? Yes. You got one yes. Don't ask yourself again why this industry needs what it needs. It needs people to ask how. It is the answer. In fact, a lot of the answers are here. You heard answers from Larry. He said the answers were here. You heard the answer from Cappuccio. You heard the answer from Wally. You even heard the answer from Travis. I'll tell you right now that Travis showed us all how to fight last night. Yes or no? Yes. We need to fight. Because in a way, compared to Amazon, you know how Larry was talking about all these processes and procedures and it's all about the numbers and so on and so forth? Do you think they need that information? Do you think Apple and Google and Amazon need that information? No, they've got all that figured out. So in a way, we're like Travis. We're in for the fight of our lives. And if you don't see that, see it right now. So what do you got to do? You got to realize guys like this. You recognize these guys? Who are these guys? We got Bill Gates, you got Sam Walton, and 10 years ago you'd say these are the most successful guys in the world. True or false? Are they so today? They are not. They are not. You know why? Because you never arrive. You are never there. Not in this life. So what that means is you are constantly working on yourself and getting better, because guess what? It's not about your competition. In fact, it's not about these guys at all. Who's it about? That's it. We are our own worst enemy. We are the ones that keep us from being our best. And that's what I learned with my coach, and guess what? That's what Cappuccio learned with his coach. We keep us from being great. Your customer experience needs an overhaul. It needs it right now. So how do you do that? Well, your people need people skills. How do we do that? We teach them. We teach them to create wow experiences. What is a wow experience? It's when a customer realizes that you went above and beyond for them. That's a wow experience. We wow them, and we wow them every time, and we just drop those emotional deposits in their bank account. How do we do that? Well, we teach them to be grateful. I've got a good friend, his name is Keen Farr. He's well into his 80s. And on one in particular day, we were talking about life. And he was hinting that his friends were beginning to die around him. The guy's almost 90. And that he was going to die too, and I hated that. And I said, Keen, I'm going to stop you right there. You can't die. And he says, what do you mean I can't die? And I said, well, you're the sage. You're the sage in the neighborhood. And he says, oh, it's sage you want. And then he moved on to something else, and I thought, okay, so he forgot what we were talking about. 2 days later, he comes to my house and he presents me this little bottle of sage leaves, and he says, here you go, Brigham. After I'm gone, you'll still have sage. How cool is this guy? And he says, I'm going to give you some sage. He says, you know, there's a friend of mine about 3 years ago They invited him to a youth camp out, and he went to this youth camp out, and he addressed the youth, and it was great. Well, 3 weeks later, he receives this letter in the mail. It was a thank you letter from his friend. And he says, I got to tell you, you might get an email or a phone call where somebody says thank you, but very rarely today do you ever get a thank you letter. But every time I see my friend to this day, I can't help but think of that thank you letter. You see, when you say thank you, or in Truett Cathy's case at Chick-fil-A, you say my pleasure, what you're saying is you made a difference. And when people feel like they've made a difference, they feel important. And when they feel important, they become loyal. They become loyal to you. They become loyal to your cause. We need to teach our team to be grateful. How do we do that? Well, they've got to learn to create value. Create value within their responsibility and teach their peers how to do that. And there's lots of ways to do that. But I've found the best way to do that is to teach your team to work autonomously. What is autonomous work? How many of you guys have teenage kids? Raise your hands. I've got two girls. Aliens went into their bodies about 13 years old. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. I've got a daughter who's 15 and 17. The reason why I hesitate is because it changes every year. I don't know if it does the same for you guys, but anyway, I tell them to clean their rooms every freaking day. And I don't know how they do it because, I have to go like this over their clothes. I don't get it. Look, I almost want to say to them, hey, put your feet and put it right on your cheeks. Do you know why I want you to do that? Because every time you pick up a pair of clothes off the ground to smell it and see if it's smelly enough or not smelly, right? It's as if you're putting your feet to your face. That's crazy. Why do you do that? And of course I say, hey, look, if you don't clean your room, right? You're going to lose the car. You're going to, whatever, right? And what do? Haphazardly, they throw things underneath the bed. They've got the sheets tucked up under at the very bottom of Grandma's quilt. They've got clothes hanging out of the drawers. They've got everything stuffed in their closet. And they say, it's clean, Dad. Whatever. Now, my senior year of high school, and it was my dad that reminded me of this because every time they do it, I say to myself, I never did this when I was a kid. Never. I was always clean. And my dad was like, no, not till your senior year. And I remembered the moment when I woke up and I saw clothes at the foot of my bed and all over the ground, and I realized I was in a mess. I was in a mess. And so I started picking up everything and putting on my hangers, and I pulled out everything out of my drawers and folded everything up, like at JCPenney. And I color-coded everything, put it back in the drawers. And I moved the bed over. This is crazy, right? I moved the bed over, and I saw all these wrappers, and I started cleaning up everything underneath the bed. And I took those sheets, right, and I actually tucked them underneath the bed, as opposed to leaving them crumpled up at the bottom of Grandma's quilt. And of course, my parents came in and they're like, oh, what's going on? That's crazy. But my dad remembers. He remembers when I began to take responsibility. You see, the room is free. It's a free gift. You didn't have to pay for it. You didn't have to work for it. It was just given to you. But there has to be a moment when you're responsible enough to say, hey, it's my room. I need to take good care of it. And so what do? We teach our team to do the same thing. They have a role. They have a responsibility. They need to be able to do it better than we can do it. That's their end goal. That's their objective. They need to work at an autonomous level. In other words, they become indispensable. They become indispensable to you. They become indispensable to their team. They got to be able to do the kind of work where they don't worry about how much they're getting paid or how long it takes or how hard it is. Let me give you one more example. If I were to say to you, hey, I'm going to fill up these bags of sand And it's going to be so much fun. There's going to be water outside, right? It's going to rain a little bit. It's going to be a ball. It's going to be so much fun, but we're going to do it together. How many of you guys are excited about this right now? Totally pumped? None of you want to do it because you're worried about how hard it is, how long it takes, and hey, guess what? You're not getting paid anything to do with it. Right? And you're going to be wet. That too. But if I gave you a little bit more information, I said, hey, your brother's house is about to be swept away. And if we don't build this levee in front of this house, it's going to get washed away. Now we don't care how long it takes, do we? Now I know some of you are thinking it depends on the brother. I get that. You don't care how hard it is. You don't care how much you're being paid because you're going to save your brother's house. You know, it is what it is. This story is real. This story hits home. It's hit home close to us. We're in that storm more often than you think. We're in that storm right now. And we've got to fight. How do we do it? We teach our team. We teach them the people skills that they need so that we can demand the price we charge. We demand the price we charge, we make money. And the money is a byproduct of the people that we serve. And we do that by teaching them how to say yes. When I first started my business, I was in advertising. I had 3 clients. And Troy Nearing's Plumbing and Heating, he was one of my clients. And I was generating these internet advertising leads. And he brought me in one day and he said, hey, your leads are no good. And I said, what do you mean my leads are no good? And he says, well, they just want a ballpark price. That doesn't sound familiar at all, does it? They just want to know what you charge to come out. They just want to talk to a technician. And these guys, they're not our customers. No, not really. And I said, wait a minute. Now in the back of my head, I'm going, geez, I've got 3 clients. If I lose you, Troy, I'm down to 2. You're not going anywhere. And it just so happened I was listening to this CD, Jeff Gitomer. You guys ever heard of Jeff Gitomer? Awesome, probably the best salesman on the planet. He teaches you to give first. Give first to create a wow experience, right? So I'm listening to this CD, and I go into his office. He tells me he's going to let me go, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to give first. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And I said, wait a minute. I used to answer the phones at a company called Arctic Air. I was good. I knew what I was doing. I could train these guys, and I could keep this account. So I said to Troy, Troy, please, let me train them. Because I'm telling you, these are customers. These are opportunities, and we don't want to miss them. Of course, in the back of my head, I was like, please don't fire me. And he says, all right, Brigham, I'll give you a week. I train his team. He starts seeing a difference immediately. Within a month, his call conversions go up 20%. Next thing you know, he's calling a guy named Tom Robichaud in Boulder, Colorado, Precision Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. He calls up Tom and he says, hey, I don't know what to tell you, man, but these leads, we're booking these leads because Brigham is training our CSRs. So next thing I know, Tom calls me and he says, hey, I want you to train my CSRs. And I said, cool, but I need to do your advertising. And he's like, no, I got that covered. But I'll pay you to train my CSRs. And this light bulb came up over my head. I was like, oh, wow, he's going to pay me to train his CSRs? Okay. So next thing I know, I fly up to Boulder, train his CSRs, and then Troy and Tom get together and they go, dude, you got to talk to this guy named Micah Gugliero at Gold Medal in New Jersey. You guys have never heard of Mike, I'm sure, right? And so anyway, I train his CSRs, and then he refers me to a bunch of other companies. And next thing I know, I'm hiring all my friends. And you guys, I don't have a lot of friends. You see them. They're all here. And we're training CSRs. We're a training company. You've got to give first. You've got to give first. And you've got to train your CSRs to give first. You've got to train your technicians to give first. You've got to train your comfort advisors to give first, to create value. And when they do, they're going to create a wow experience. And that's how you build long-term relationships. You give first. So how do you do that? Well, it's really simple. You got to teach your team to care. Somebody give me a quick definition of apathy or indifference. What is apathy? What is indifference?
I put my phone away, so I don't know.
I gotta Google it. What it means simply is that you don't care. You don't care. Lack of empathy. Right. When people don't do their job, and we wonder why, it could be that they don't care. You've got CSRs that are doing multiple jobs. Some of them might be counting beans. Some of them might be collecting. And when that phone rings, it's an irritation to them. An irritation. And they don't realize that, guess what? Those beans can only be counted because you got people on the phone. Collections, because you got people on the phone. And if that phone stops ringing, guess what also stops? What also stops? Your paycheck. You see, they're the boss. The boss is calling. Phone rings. You pick up that phone. And it's because, in many cases, they stop caring. We need to teach them to care. We need to remind them who the boss is. It's them. They're calling. They're calling. So how do we teach them to care? Well, we got to teach them to listen. Customer gets on the phone, hey, I've got this mother-in-law living with us. She's been with us for the last 3 years. Can you imagine telling a complete stranger you got a mother-in-law living with you? How about I take this pill for this and I take that pill for that? How about I've got a son who's 4 months old and I can't go without AC? They share these things with us. I just had a hip replacement. I just had an aneurysm. They share it all. Why do they share that with complete strangers? That's their pain, yes, from an emotional standpoint. And they want you to care. But in order to care, you have to listen. And you've got to teach them how to listen. They've got to be present. They've got to be in the moment. To win it, they've got to be in it. Phone rings, boom, you put your world on hold. You answer that phone call. You take care of that customer. That is a person on the other line, and they need you. They need you to care. They need you to take care of their emotional needs. And when you do that, guess what? The money comes. The price you want to charge, it comes because of that. So how do you do that? How do you teach them how to listen? You've got to train them. You've got to practice over and over and over again. And it doesn't happen overnight, and sometimes it doesn't happen in months. Sometimes it takes longer. But you've got to hold them accountable. And you've got to teach them, and you've got to practice with them over and over and over and over and over and over again until they've got it. And when they've got it, let them do their thing. And what's amazing about this is that we get people calling in and they say, hey, these principles you're teaching, we're not just booking calls. We're not just wowing customers. In fact, there's this one CSR, her name is Shannon. She hadn't been able to get through to her daughter in months. And she calls her coach up and she says, you will not believe what just happened. Using the principles you teach, I've been able to get through to my daughter for the first time. And funny thing, I just listened. I just cared. I just reassured her that I could help, that I wanted to help. These things are common knowledge. You get it. You get it. But it's not common practice. The way we make it common practice is by practicing over and over and over again. Lastly, we need to teach our team to embrace optimism. Absolutely, there are things we cannot control. We cannot control the elements. We cannot control other people. But we can control ourselves. Remember what Larry said today. Remember what Travis said yesterday. Remember what Capuccio said. And they all were saying the same thing. The same thing. You are the enemy. You are the one that keeps you from being great. You are the one that keeps you from growing. And you've got to fix that. We've got to fix that. Because I am my own worst enemy. The first step is to embrace optimism. Be positive. Be upbeat. Be enthusiastic. Make sure your energy is so contagious that everybody wants to be around you. How do you do that? Well, we teach it, and it's in our books. And I told you we have a few books left, so make sure you get one right after we're done here. But it's all there. It's all there. We teach it to your CSRs on a regular basis. Make sure your people have the people skills, and you do that through training. Now, if you're still asking yourself, how do I create a wow experience for my customers? And you feel like, you know what, can't do it on my own. Well, the last thing I want to do is put one more thing on your to-do list. I'm pretty sure it's full at this point. Yes or no? Absolutely yes. So with Power Certification, what we do is we go in and we do it for you. If you don't think in your heart of hearts that you cannot do it on your own, great. That's awesome. Let us do it for you. We'll hold your CSRs accountable. We'll teach them to book the call. We'll have them listen to their own calls, and we'll have them listen to the best calls in the industry, the best CSRs in the industry, their calls. And we will practice with them, and we will hold them accountable until they're at 85% or better, or your money back. So, what's really cool about this event is we're doing the kickoff for free. It's a live, online video training. It's happening on the 20th. But to take advantage of that offer, you got to sign up here at the event. And I'm going to go back one more time. Before I go any further, any questions? Yes?
Brigham, have you ever had a CSR that just could not adapt and be trained?
So the question is, have I ever had a CSR that could not adapt and be trained? I'm sure you're the only one in the room that feels this way. Yes? Oh, no? Oh, okay. We have had many CSRs, old and young, that when they first see what we're teaching, they respond somewhat like this. Brigham, you seem like a really nice guy. I've been doing this for 38 years. 38 years now. And I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of trainings, and I could probably do your training. And so I think I'm good. I think I'm real good. Somebody like that? More or less? Yeah. What we do is we have them listen to their own phone call. And we go, you know what? We felt the same way. We thought you were awesome too. I agree with you. But weird thing is we heard this. And she's going to say, oh my gosh, that's like the worst call I've ever taken. What did you do? Just search far and wide to find the worst call ever? Well, that's how we felt until we heard this. And this. I don't know, it's weird, right? It's crazy. But we want you to sound like this, and this, and this. Now, it's up to you. It's up to you. Some people, when they see this, what we're talking about right now, they go, man, I got to fire all my CSRs because there's no way they're going to. Let us work with them. What's the name of the CSR? Just the first name. I won't tell anyone. Did you say Cheryl? Cheryl? Sherry. I better not get that wrong, right? Cheryl. No, it's Sherry. It's called, no. Oh, good. Here's what I would say to Sherry. Here's what I'm saying. Give me 2 months with her. Give me 2 months with her. If we can't change her paradigm, if we can't help her, I'll give you your money back and you can let her go. Okay? Any questions? Any other questions? Yes. Do we train techs and plumbers? Okay, the answer is yes. Now, why do we train CSRs? Because nobody else will. All right, how many technician trainers do you know? Like hundreds, none of which guarantee the result, but, that's neither here nor there, but we'll train your CSR, we'll guarantee the result, and while we're there, if you want us to, we can train the techs the same way. Now, we can't hold them accountable because they don't have phone calls, but we can absolutely teach these principles to them, and we'd be glad to do it while we're there teaching your CSRs. What other questions? Okay. How do we get recorded calls? You know, you'd be surprised how many calls are already recorded. You might work with a marketing company. There is this phenomenal manufacturer called Mitsubishi that actually is sending leads to you as we speak, and all those calls are recorded, and that's why we're here. And so we do have access to calls. Do we need all the calls? No, just enough to listen to them, provide accountability. So chances are you already have that ability. You already have that capacity. We just need to find it, get access to it, use it for training purposes. Great question. Any other questions? Okay.
Do you offer training for non-audience calls, like chat feeds, things of that nature?
Great question. There are companies out there that specialize in chat, but they use the same principles that we teach, so we can help you with that to a point. But if it gets to the point where you've got a bunch of chats and you'd rather just somebody else do it, we do have a partner we can refer you to on that. Any other questions? You guys, yes.
When you're looking at the CSR, do you also take into account their role within the company as the other ancillary services that they're responsible for? And then do you come back and say, look, you know, I'm not here to run your business, but maybe they are overwhelmed and they're not able to focus to the degree that we need them to every call to make this the most important job.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what her question is. She's saying, look, we have CSRs that do other jobs, and if you feel, while you're training them, while you're working with them, that you can see that they're overwhelmed, would you tell us that? Would you help us with that? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Yes. Yes. You want to get to the point where all your CSR does is answer phones. CSRs answer phones. Technicians go out in the field. Accountants count beans. All right? At Amazon, you've got one person who does one part of one particular job. In fact, they've got a group of people that does one part of one particular job. I know you're not Amazon. I know you're not there yet. But I highly suggest that you break it down to at least 3. You as an owner, 3 responsibilities tops. You got to give everything else out to somebody else. Okay? I'm a small business owner too. I get it. 3 tops. 3 responsibilities tops. And you've got it. And you'd be surprised how many things you can outsource today. Amazing stuff. All right? Now, any more questions? I'm going to summarize, but before I do, I want to make sure I answer any other questions. Okay. There is a form on your table. Look at it. If you haven't filled it out yet, do so now. Those that fill out the form on the left-hand side and hand it in to us, that's how you get the free book. When you do, we're going to send you 2-minute videos that you can use periodically for your CSRs. All right? So immediately, not only will you get the book, but you'll also get those short videos. So you can use those for training right away. That's that give first thing. You notice that? Those of you who know they're not going to be able to do this on their own, that they need the help, they'd like somebody to do it for them, fill out the right side, and that's how you get the live video training, where we set the expectation for what we're looking to hear over the phones, and we start coaching them one-on-one twice a month using their own phone calls with a guaranteed result of 85% or better, or your money back. So one way or the other, fill out that form and take it back to our booth to get the free book, and if you're ready for certification, to get your CSR certified, fill out the right-hand side, and we're excited to work with you. So I'm going to share an experience with you guys that I've never shared before. And I just wonder, is Chris from Gensco in the room by chance? Just left? Okay. Well, that's good. We can talk about him. No, I'm just teasing. It's the best time to talk about him. Back in 2014, he had me speak at an event. And I was going to try some new content, some new material. And, well, long story short, it was a mistake. I totally bombed it. It was awful. And I thought for sure he would never invite me back. And 2 weeks ago, crazy thing, I was able to go back to Gensco and give it another shot. I don't know, who was there at Gensco? Just raise hands, a few hands in the air. Anyway, before I got in front of everybody, my counterpart, Barry Gates, says, hey, Brigham, don't do anything new or extra or different. And I was dying. I was like, okay. And I went in front of that group, gave it my all. How did it go, guys? Few goods. I got a few thumbs up. Well, what was amazing was as soon as I was done, I walked back and I shake Chris's hand and he says, good job. And then his twin brother, believe it or not, he's got a twin brother that looks just like him, came up right behind him, shook my hand and said, good job. Good job. What is great about life is that as long as we're not dead, we can get up. We can get up. We can dust ourselves off and we can try again and again and again until we succeed, until we win. So when I say, you're the enemy, you are. But you're also the hero. You're the hero of this story. And if the hero can step up, if the hero can get off the ground, dust themselves off, as many times as they have to, again and again and again, until they do what they're supposed to do what they were meant to do, and that is to create, that is to build, that is to learn so they can earn, because it's not about the money, it's about people. And when you serve people, when you take care of people, when you create that experience over and over and over again, guess what? You win. And money's just a byproduct. Make it so. You be the hero. Thank you very much.